And this is one of the most popular subjects that we get asked about in the community center at the front desk. So I was really thrilled when Barry and his wife offered to help out and get the information out there. So if you're not familiar with Town Square, we're a nonprofit community center and we run on donation. And because of the generous donations, we're able to do programs like this, so we appreciate it. So thanks again for coming and welcome Barry and Ann.
I'm going to ask you to, you can hand these out, Amy. These are this map here, but it's too hard to see from the back, so we've got a copy. And that's the bike routes that we have in Green Lake County. Not all of them are formally designated with a sign. So we have an exciting part of the program, which is talking about the bike trail, and then an embarrassing part of the program, which is talking about riding an electric bike when the rest of us are trying to pedal. So, Dan Hutter has Mobile Evo, which is electric everything, electric bikes, electric kayaks, electric surfboards, I don't know. But he was tied up in Oconomowoc at their main store. He's going to try and be back, so at the end we can go through and see what he has. And it's just amazing. We as the bicycle trail group are going to have to keep way ahead of where the electric bicycles are. Now, I'm not sure how well my voice carries in this room, so just...
With the mask on, I use the mic.
All right.
It's getting a little...
Amy, I'm going to let you get that for me. Thank you. Well, I've worn a mask for 45 years. I still don't know how to keep my glasses from falling off. So I can't do without them. So tonight, I'm going to talk about Lori's Trail and how we'll connect it to other trails, how we pay for it, and then future projects that we will become involved in. We is Green Lake Greenways. It's a nonprofit organization set up by Lori Renaud 10 years ago to promote biking in the area, promote bike safety, and to try and help develop the trails. And she was very aggressive. She made enemies along the way. She died a couple years ago just as things were coming to a head. And I'll tell you, it's been a monster job for 5 guys to try and take over what Lori did, mostly all by herself. Ann's going to talk about the joy of owning an electric assist bike now for 6 months and riding with and beyond the rest of the family. And then if Dan gets here, he'll talk about the classification of electric bikes, the regulations, and don't go out and buy something big and huge because you may not be allowed to ride it on the trail. If he's not here, we can carry some of that. But it's just amazing the stuff that he's got back there. This explosion in electric assist silent sports, basically. To start with, this is Lori's Trail. Green Lake, we have the Green Lake City Trail going out to the Green Lake Conference Center. This was the final segment of a trail that would get us from the Green Lake Conference Center up to Berlin and to Riverside Park in Berlin, primarily off the road. As she thought about this, she wanted the trails to go through the towns, not around them. And so that's why this trail stops out here at North Street, and then you have to ride the city roads down to the trailhead. Has everybody seen the trailhead down here? The Eagle Scout project? This was incredible. Walked down there, I told Larry I saw some people pumping up their tires over at the filling station, and I wanted to back up the car and jump out. There's a bike repair station down here at Town Square. This is going to be the trailhead for our trail system in the Green Lake area. Right now, I think everybody realizes that phase 1 of Lori's Trail is done. It's beautiful pavement. The middle section is the difficult section to do because that's on limestone, and the gas and utilities are blasted into the limestone, and we're trying to get up above where those utilities are, but it's crossing people's land, and some people it's in front of their picture windows, so we dip down into the right-of-way. But it was quite a process getting the permits. We have all the permits. We had a grant and enough money to do phase 1, which is what we called the bookends, and that was from Fortified Bank up to Forest Ridge, and then from take Forest Ridge up to Brooklyn J is the temporary detour, and then back down to it restarts at where Sunnyside Road comes into 23 and then goes to PP. And the reason it stops at PP is, number one, that's the county line. Once this is all paid for, we turn it over to the county, and they own it, and they maintain it, and they police it. At PP, when this project first was thought about, Alan Beekle, the administrator of Fond du Lac County, said, if you build it, I'll pave both shoulders of PP. It's only, I think, about 300 yards from where the Lori's Trail ends up to the Northwestern Trail. And then because we were working on the Northwestern Trail, Fond du Lac County re-gravelled, resurfaced the Northwestern Trail, and that takes you into the library in Ripon. Parking for the new trail is at Fortified Bank, and I can't say enough about how Fortified Bank sort of buoyed us up and helped us along. They said, mark spots out there, you can have trail parking in our parking lot, love to have you. And they even gave us an idea, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which was, sometimes you get involved in a project and you don't see the forest for the trees. And that's where we were, trying to get across 23 and up busy to busy County A up to Commercial Avenue. And so thank you to Fortified Bank for being a real partner in this. The other parking is on PP, where the Northwestern Trail ends. You just pull off on the grass. It's gravelled in there, but the grass has grown over, and it'll park about 2 cars there. The temporary detour is because we needed to get another grant and then match that grant to be able to pay for the middle section. We were a little discouraged that we'd have to send people off on Forest Road and then down Brooklyn J. It turns out it's a beautiful ride. We went with our grandkids, and we passed 1 or 2 cars. Orson's steers come down to the fence to let you know that, this is their area, and the kids just love it. Big horns on the big steers. And then Brooklyn J is shaded. It's got beautiful pavement. And my son got all excited because the houses are so beautifully landscaped along there, and they're tucked back in the woods and stuff. So it was really a nice trip. And of course, we kept the grandkids going by saying, at the end of the rainbow is ice cream in Ripon. And indeed, you get on the trail, go up to the library, and you're 2.5 blocks from the ice cream shop. We return on the trail. Normally, if you're coming to Green Lake, you get off on Brooklyn J, take the detour, and then end up at Fortified Bank. We came all the way to Sunnyside, and then cross the highway there. It was actually fairly safe and seemed like a logical place to go. And then we came in on Sunnyside back into to our home on County Road 8. Now, phase 1 has been built, but not paid for. So phase 2, we have to raise the remaining funds to pay off the construction loan on phase 1. But phase 2 is the center section from Forest Ridge to Sunnyside Road. Most of that, about half of that will be in the ditch, and the other half is we have permission from landowners and the businesses along there said, yes, you can cross on the flat area in front of there, so we don't have to be down digging in the ditch. We just got a grant that'll pay for about half of phase 2. The problem is right now the state's got a hold on paying out grants, and so we still haven't been reimbursed from our first grant, and the second grant we don't know when we'll get the money for that. We would hope to build phase 2 and complete the trail along 23 next summer, but it's a monumental task to bring together the financing for that. Phase 2, one of Lori's dreams was that, and not just that families could safely recreate in the Green Lake area, but that people could get to work by commuting by bicycle. And of course, most of that traffic is quite frankly, at the time that we looked at this, was to Alliant Laundry. And so they could commute by Berlin, and her goal was to be able to have people be able to commute from Green Lake. And so once we get phase 2 done, that'll be a reality. People can cross at the stoplight on County Road 8, or they can get over on the trail from Forest Ridge Avenue. But phase 2 is really waiting until we have it funded. Now, one of the goals, we discussed this as Lori's dream. And Lori's dream was to connect our communities with safe bicycle routes. We had the Mascoutin Trail was an existing trail, had fallen into great disrepair. The first project was to resurface the Mascoutin Trail from Berlin to Ripon. Once that got resurfaced, there were a number of people on it, and of course, what's the hang-up on that trail is the gun club. So the Berlin Conservation Club planned and outlined a boardwalk around their shooting range that was at a safe distance so that people wouldn't have to be concerned when you hear the gunshots, but they're off in the distance. And so because there was greater use of that trail, they built the boardwalk, and then you could get from Berlin to Ripon. Ripon went ahead and marked their streets, so you know the route from the Mascoutin Trail over to the library to get on the Northwestern Trail. And of course, Fond du Lac went ahead and resurfaced their trail. So this was the last remaining segment of an 18-mile trail system that would take you from the Green Lake Conference Center. So from here, through Green Lake, downtown Ripon at the library, and up to Berlin. If you go to Berlin, then you stop and get an ice cream cone or a greasy hamburger there. How is this trail, Lori's Trail, going to connect with the other trails? Here in Green Lake, the original engineering was to cross Highway 23 at the stoplight, come along County Road A, and then cross over to Commercial Avenue. That's, 5 lanes of traffic here, 5 lanes of traffic here, and my granddaughter's 10 years old and walks like this. And it's just not going to happen. So The new idea that we hadn't thought of or had the engineers look at was when 4 to 5 banks said, you know, you can come across our property. It'd be safer to cross 49 at our driveway because it's only 2 lanes. There is a turning lane there, but cars are either just starting to accelerate coming from the stop sign or they're decelerating coming down towards the stop sign and then get on North Lawson. So Jerry and I walked over there, and I don't know, we walked down by the river and thought, wow, this is a no-brainer. Was the engineer with us that day? She came another day and she looked and she said, well, this is beautiful and it's great, but she said, it's going to be expensive. You're going to have to build a boardwalk. And she said, that's going to cost you $100,000, $150,000. We thought, well, to cross Highway 23, the DOT requires us to change the stoplights. And 4 years ago, that cost was going to be $70,000. So we would like to talk with the neighbors, just get a feel for what they think about it. But I think that would be an exciting way to bring families into Green Lake, is to have them go along a much less traveled road, down to the river, back up and down North Lawson, a quiet road into town square, into this. So that's in the future, but that may be 3-4 years. We'd like to do it in 2, but it's tough with COVID. We can't do our fundraising.
So would the trail go under 23 at the river there? Is there room to go?
Yes, we would have to get permits from the DOT. The DNR won't be as much trouble because we're not obstructing the flow of the river.
Oh.
A boardwalk would have paths, but it's just so scenic down there. And part of this is it's a family recreation trail. It's to be soothing and fun and calm, not have to worry about your kids weaving in and out in a traffic lane. So we would really like to explore that possibility. Ripon, at the Ripon end of Lori's Trail, right now we end at PP. The town of Ripon has approached us, would we consider taking the trail right into the cul-de-sac of Coral Road? And once again, these trails cost $250,000 a mile. That's an extra mile of trail. But town of Ripon is interested and willing to help, so that's another thing we'll be looking at down the road. First thing is to finish the middle of the trail and get the trail safely into downtown Green Lake.
Barry, what's the point of that? If the Northwestern Trail already goes from PP to Coral and then into Ripon, why do you need another trail perpendicular or parallel to the highway?
To bring the bikers into the West End shopping district, McDonald's, Culver's, and then get them over to the college, up the path at the college, through the college to Main Street. So it's to get bicyclists to the Main Street businesses.
Also, the new routes will all be paved versus the Northwestern Trail is gravel, and you're gonna lose a lot of bikers who don't wanna go that route or can't go that route on their skinny tires.
Sure.
And, the other purpose of the trail was for commuting, and so it gets people who work in Ripon, gets them over on that side of town. Yeah.
Well, from the cul-de-sac, then how would you go into Ripon? Would you go on the road or on?
You'd have to go on the road to what's the name of the Mexican restaurant now?
Aroma.
Aroma? And then it's legal to ride on the sidewalk. Those are 8-foot sidewalks. And the city of Ripon has an ordinance that you can ride up to Union Street. Then you can cross at a light at Union Street. Or you can cross it where Kmart was and go up East Moraine Trail or whatever it is, to get to Ripon College and then up to Main Street. But the whole point of the connecting our communities was to get bicyclists into downtown Green Lake, downtown Ripon, and downtown Berlin. So that was part of the incentive of that. The final thing I have to talk about is who pays for the trail. We do. We apply for grants from the DNR trail grants. The Department of Transportation has federal trail grants. We have had very generous donors which have matched those grants. And then we have to fundraise the rest. This year was tough because we had planned our big fundraiser Memorial Day weekend, and of course we were closed down and couldn't have it. But that's the opportunity for us to go to people and businesses and foundations and say, would you be willing to sponsor part of this festival? And that money will go towards finishing the trail. I'm going to turn this over to Ann, and she can roll the electric assist bicycle. These are not electric bikes. By definition, by state law, an electric assist bicycle that's allowed on bike trails, which are non-motorized trails, they have to meet the specifications that this bike meets. The bike in back, Dan Hunter's bike, meets that specification, but a much heavier bike, and then he's got larger, more powerful bikes that will not be allowed on the trail.
Thank you. I tried to anticipate questions, so we'll see how I did here. The reasons why I wanted an e-bike: I like to sit upright when I ride. I wanted a bike that could handle either gravel trails or paved areas. I like to rubberneck. And all this means is that I'm not a very fast biker. But when we get together with our adult children and grandchildren, we all like to bike together. My son and daughter bike to work all year round, so they're perpetually in good biking shape, which I'm not. My daughter is what I classify as a spandex biker. She wears appropriate biking garments, she rides very fast, and her bicycle weighs about 2 pounds. My husband, while not a spandex biker, also has a road bike with very skinny tires, and he can go a lot faster than I can when I'm on my non-e-bike. The e-bike has great lights, which turn on when I turn on the battery. And I had one of those big birthdays, post 39 years old, and decided to celebrate with a big present to myself. So I'll be honest, I know when we get to the point where you want to know how much they cost. I bought mine in February when it was on sale, so keep that in mind. So now with an e-bike, I can keep up with the children and grandchildren. I can bike up hills with relative ease, and I can generally pass up my kids, definitely my husband. And knowing that I can not only keep up with, but also put the burners on, so to speak, to pass the kids and my husband, gives me a great deal of pleasure. What I look for in my e-bike: being a lady of a certain age, I wanted a step-through bike. I decided that I wanted the motor, battery, in the center of the bike because it centralizes the weight. I decided on a Trek because my last bike was a Trek, and because they still make a very small number of Treks in the United States. Probably not this one. The motor on my Trek is made by Bosch, and I was assured, by the way, that any e-bike with a Bosch motor would be similar price. So Trek was known to be expensive, but it's got a Bosch motor, and any bike with a Bosch motor is going to be expensive, right? I was able to swap out my e-bike's computer for the Bosch smartphone hub, so I can mount my cell phone on my handlebars. And with that, I can have anything on my cell phone, GPS, answer calls while I'm biking, hands-free phone calls, listen to music, which probably isn't safe anyway. And I can charge my phone with the cell phone battery. People ask, how far can you go on a battery charge? It depends. I have 4 speeds on my bike. You can bike without any assist whatsoever, and that is, it's a heavy bike. It is 51 pounds, 51.34 pounds. The battery is another 5.5 pounds. So it's a heavy bike. So generally, if I want to bike, I have it in maybe eco mode, and I can keep up with Barry in eco mode without any trouble. Sorry.
Let me show you how she passes. She rides like this. And as she passes, she goes. So the hill by Cristiano's is the worst hill in the world. It's not steep, it's not that long, but Ann always passes me smiling and then moves on. So.
Okay, so after eco, there's a tour speed, and then there's a sport speed, and then the most assist. And when I say speed, that's assist, is turbo. And basically what they say is that the motor just amplifies the power that you put into pedaling. It doesn't do anything unless you pedal. So you're still working and going uphill. I may be working hard, but I'm getting more distance for my work than with a regular bicycle. So pedal assist is basically just like a regular bike, except you get a little bit more distance with each pedal. It takes 1.5 hours to charge half of the battery, and about 3.5 hours to fully charge the battery. The charger is this, just regular, yeah, 110, whatever, just to charge it in the house on a regular outlet. The battery locks onto the bicycle. You need a key to get it off. But because these are lithium-ion batteries, they recommend storing them at room temperature. So I just unlock it and bring it into the house and leave it in the house. For bringing it in the car with the bike rack, I have a bike rack that's made in Watertown, Wisconsin. It's called a 1-Up. And it can hold 1 e-bike and 1 regular bike. It cannot hold 2 e-bikes. So if you have 2 e-bikes, you probably have to have a special bike rack that's strong enough to take the weight of 2 e-bikes. Distance on the battery, and you go into tour, you plus it again, you're in sport, plus your turbo, and below that there's a minus, and that takes you back down the other way. So just you're biking along, if you see a hill, yeah, turbo. It's just pressing your thumb. So that's one of the benefits of the centralized, and there's no noise, none whatsoever.
What about brakes?
Brakes are just like regular brakes. Basically, you don't even have to turn it on. I mean, you can just ride it like a regular bicycle. Yeah.
In turbo, how many miles per hour are you going if you're on?
Okay, good point. The maximum that you can go is 20 miles per hour, and then the battery won't help you at all. So it is programmed to no longer assist you once you're going 20 miles per hour. And the good part of that is that means that I can basically go on any bike trail I want. because that's generally the cutoff point. So there is a class 3, this is called a class 1 e-bike. It's pedal assist and up to 20 miles per hour. There's a class 3, which is pedal assist, but it will go up, the battery will take you up to 28 miles per hour, and those generally, I don't believe, are allowed on bike trails. It depends on the local ordinances, but generally not.
Yeah, I've got one as well. On ours, only goes 20 miles an hour with assist. If you're going down a steep hill, the bike will go fast.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you come down Spalding Hill Road or something like that, they're going 30 miles an hour. You're just not getting any assist from the bicycle. So it doesn't stop you from going fast or down the hill.
Right, it will not assist you.
It just doesn't provide any energy to
And generally at 30 miles an hour, I'm riding my bikes, Phil. Riding my brakes, sorry. Yeah.
So you're shifting that just like a regular bicycle?
Yes,
You got.
everything is like a regular bicycle.
Okay.
Is there a gauge on the battery to tell you how much juice is left?
Yes, there is a gauge on the battery, so just the battery that's here, if I don't put my cell phone in here, it tells me how much battery there is. It tells me how many miles I can go based on how much battery is in there. It tells me which mode I'm in, you know, Eco, Tour, Sport, Turbo, and
How far behind Gary?
I have to turn my head to that.
You can still see him.
Yeah, generally I try not to. So they advertise, you don't have to be a fitness superstar or a great exerciser. It's a great equalizer, which is very true. People of different ability and fitness level can ride together. And you can casually cruise behind diehard cycling friends and not break a sweat. It's simple and easy to use for commuting, so. Anything else? Yes, Ned?
So how much did you say that weighed, the bicycle?
So this one, and I have to say, because this is a step-through, step-throughs are probably more expensive, or they're probably heavier, because they have to beef up the weld there. So this is 50 pounds, 51 pounds, and the battery adds another 5.
So that's a lot to move if you're just riding it like a regular bike.
Right, so I usually will have it in Eco. It also does have, if you have to walk it someplace, like walk it up a hill, it has a walk assist.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
you have to have it in either, in one of the 4 modes, but you push a button, a walk assist, and you hold down the plus sign, and it walks itself. In fact, if you have it in turbo, you're running behind. So it's not hard to push anyplace.
Do you feel a need to have a lock for that bike?
I did, when I bought it, I did have one of these, I don't know what you call it. Well, this is a built-in lock, you know, that locks the tire from moving. And then I also have a chain that attaches to that lock that I can put around something else. When we've been in the cities biking with our son and his family, we generally take chains and bike all of them together, so I have to admit I was kind of paranoid about that, you know, wanting good locks for it. I think this kind of has sort of a GPS thing with it, so it remembers where it was. And so with the smartphone hub on my cell phone, it'll tell me the last place my bike was and if my bike's moved, so.
You know, I have an admission to make.
You're waiting for your 30-day birthday?
You know, when Amy asked for a little history on the presenter, I said, well, we've hiked and biked all over the world. And my daughter tonight came over and she said, Dad. I said, I know someone that's biked all over the world. And that someone is Jerry Speck. And Jerry came tonight to talk about safety. We've already had complaints from the police chief, people coming through town, blowing through the stop sign while people are walking out of North Baysport with their brat in their mouth and not paying attention. And a lot of other safety issues. Part of Green Lake Greenways is safe biking. And so, Jerry, if I could have you speak about your experiences.
I asked for 5 minutes. I won't take, hopefully no more than 5 minutes. My wife and I have done a lot of biking. Like I said, many parts of the world, we don't have electric, but the safety items are all the same. And it makes life a lot easier if you know certain things. One, the basic one, wear a helmet. And I know you say, oh, it ruins my hair, it doesn't look good, it's uncomfortable. But I'll tell you, you won't regret it once you fall on the ground sometime. I've never took a header, I've never hit one head. I just know Ken Bates. Ken Bates was superintendent of schools here for 10 years. I was next to him a couple of years ago. Wendy Schultz was with us, Tom Schultz with us, probably a couple more, doing a loop around the lake, very slow, right near her house. Ken had leather gloves on, biking gloves. And he was fall, getting like this, stuck on the road, and he had something on his tire going around, probably hitting his front, his front fork. And he took his hand to clean it off. I'm biking right next to him, and he took his hand, now we didn't have a fender on. He took his hand right here to scrape off whatever's on that tire. You don't do that. You go on the other side where the tire's going away. It took his hand, locked his hand right up here, and it took him right over, head first. Right, it's just like locking your brakes up, just like that. I came back to Ken. I said, Ken, usually you follow front, you break a shoulder, your collarbone. Left side or right side, what'd you do? Which one did you break? Neither. He hit right down on his head. Cracked his helmet. Luckily, he had a helmet on. Took him to the hospital. Ambulance came. He had a cracked vertebrae back in his neck. That stuff happened so fast. So fast. You put a helmet on. One other time, going down Orchard Avenue, probably close to where Phil lives, and I was going to go straight towards Sugarloaf, and my wife tracks right behind me, and I decided to turn left real fast. She overlapped she was right here, her wheel must have been right there, and last I heard was, what are you doing? And I looked back, her head was sliding on the pavement, off of the pavement by the thickness of her helmet. And man, and other people crack their helmets. You don't know, when you fall over, often you're not skidding along. One man, we knew he was taking a U-turn in the road, lost his balance, and when you hit down, when you fall down, that head kind of slaps onto the concrete. You fall down to your shoulder, and the head kind of goes like that. So always wear a helmet, even for anything small. Just put it on quick. Other things, lights. They're popular now. I'm glad to see this on here. You think on a regular bike too, you think in your trail you don't need lights. You often have kids, you're riding with your kids, young kids, and they don't follow right, they don't track right. All of a sudden they pull up in front of you, and you're biking along, and all of a sudden that kid comes up. You want that headlight on, even on a trail. Cars really respect it. That helps a lot. Bright colors, wear bright colors. You want to be seen out there. Do not wear black. Black colors, wearing black, and if you're in a shaded area with trees, it's hard to see something like that. Wear reds, yellows, whatever it is, but wear bright colors. You talked about turning here in town. The one thing, bike to the right, respect your traffic. I'm going to jump back there. Use a mirror. Use a mirror. Without a mirror, you don't know what's happening, and that's kind of suicidal if you don't know what's happening behind you. Some persons say, well, I can hear it. You can't always hear it because there's wind noise. If the wind's blowing the wrong way or in your helmet, you can't hear it. You turn around and that makes you swerve. If you have a mirror on there, you know what's happening behind you. Just like in your car, you wouldn't drive without rear mirrors on. And talk to whoever else is there. You see a car, you say car back, car ahead, just so you know what's happening. But a mirror, I won't bike without a mirror. If I'm biking long distances, day after day, I'll carry a spare mirror with me in my bag. You just don't bike without those. The other thing, one more thing, is bike to the right side of the road. You don't have to bike right up on that white line, but, you know, as close to what's comfortable to you. You don't want to get trapped on the right-hand side, because cars, the further you go over, the more cars want to try to squeeze by you. If you have a mirror on, and you come across an area where it's getting pretty narrow, like let's say you got a semi, I'll tell my wife, truck ahead, truck back. That means that we're going to be in a bad position. That's on a road, of course, not the trail. I'll tell Judy, I'm going to take the road over. And I'll get in the middle. I can see that. I can see the truck coming. I can look in the mirror. I will move out into the lane, because if I go to the right and hug the shoulder, he's going to try to come past me. I've had it. So we've done that. And if you do it far enough in advance, you don't do that, they slow up. They see what's happening. And in the minute the truck's clear, or one truck clears, you get over. In town here, we're having a problem downtown. What Barry was talking about, the bikers shooting through there. When you're in multiple lane traffic, you're always going to ride to the right in the lane that you want to go on. If it's a straight through lane, okay, if you're coming from the east and coming down whatever road we got right downtown here, what is that?
South.
South Street. Okay, that road, you're in single file right there if you're in traffic. And right there it splits by the liquor store there, big shop. So if you're going that way, the right-hand lane wants to turn. Let's say you're going to go straight. You do not get in the right-hand lane, because then you're going to be screwed up as far as traffic goes. You want to go straight, you get in the straight lane. That means you move over to the traffic, but you stay in the right-hand side. And that's basically a thing you have to remember. Stay in the right-hand side of the lane you want to go when you're in multiple lanes. It sounds difficult and you're going to be nervous, but that's what you got to do. Keep your head on straight. Biggest problem is you can do your circle routes, your interchanges, what do you call them, the traffic circles. Wait till you get to England, and you got to do that from the left-hand side. It just throws you off, but you just start following traffic the same way, and you apply the same principle, and it works out good. So, just some things that we have learned over the years. They don't apply to that bike or a pedal bike, they apply to all bikes. And wear a helmet, wear bright colors, use a mirror, that'll help a lot. Talk to your partner when something is coming. If you respect the cars, they'll respect you. So, if there's no traffic, we go two abreast once in a while. If there's traffic, we're usually single file. We're on the road most of the time. The other thing with trails, and I know we don't have a lot of them here. We go out west a lot biking on trails. It's so relaxing. Where on trails, you don't have to look around. You're looking at the scenery and everything else. On a road, you're pretty much, your eyes are half the time looking behind you, forward, what's happening around here, what's in the way. You can do some pretty bike rides on, but on the road it kind of changes. Your eyes are occupied by everything else around you. So I just want to bring out a few things as far as what you have to be careful for to make yourself enjoy the ride a little more and be safer. So unless anybody else has any questions, that's all I have to say.
Just to reemphasize, the police in Green Lake County know the bicycle laws. Green Lake Greenways twice has put on a symposium at the county courthouse for area policemen. They know the laws. The law is, as Jerry said, you have the right to a lane of traffic as long as you're able to go the speed of traffic. So out on County A, when you're heading down, unless, as Jerry said, you're trying to slow a truck down, that's such a dangerous stretch. You have a right to that lane, but you should stay over on the shoulder since there is a narrow shoulder there. But when you come in town, you have the right to that lane at the stop sign. You also have the responsibility to stop. And that's what's driving our local policemen crazy, is the bikes know the rules, and they choose to ignore some of them. So you can ride two abreast, is that correct, on a rural road, as long as you're
They have to be even, you can't be
okay.
staggered.
So you can't have area up here and back here blocking that lane of traffic. If we're together, we can be on there. The courtesy is if we're not able to go the speed at which traffic is going, then we should pull over and go single file, but keep aware of it. I think at this point, did Dan walk in at any point? Dan was going to show us the different classes. This bike trail, Lori's Trail, is a non-motorized, multi-use path by definition. State law allows mobility assist vehicles, so appliances. So motorized wheelchairs, those little scooters that the elderly ride in are allowed. The state got on top of the e-bike situation and they have defined this bicycle, Class 1 e-bike, as a mobility assist device that is allowed on the trails. If you go above 750 watts on your battery, or the bike can go faster than 20 miles an hour with the battery, then it's a Class 2 or 3 and is not allowed on that trail out there. So when you go down to Crazy Lenny's, or what's the place in Madison where you can get an e-bike for $1,000, and if you start walking out, he'll say it's only $900. Just be sure you're getting a bicycle that can go on the trail. Anything else we need to cover?
You got time
Yeah.
for a
Yeah,
question or
yeah.
two? You said the boardwalk is kind of a dream. What about straight across North Lawson? I know there's no stoplight there on 23, 2 cul-de-sacs. Is that something that's been considered?
It is, you can cross there, and a matter of fact, somebody mows it so their kids can get across. I don't know if it's for summer programs or school. I brought my grandkids downtown, we went out there and crossed there, because it's only, it's 3 lanes of traffic, but one is slower traffic. But you think you're gonna make it across with the grandkid, but the grandkid just isn't as urgent as you are. So that's, no, the state will not give us a permit to run the trail across there. Anything on the right-of-way of the highway, we have to have a permit for, and it takes a lot of arguing and a lot of back and forth. We cannot get a permit to run the trail across there. We can, which the state gave us the permit when we did the trail. They said you cannot end the trail at Fortified Bank. It has to come into the community. And so they did the cutout in the center of that highway, the island in the center of the highway, so that eventually we could do the crossing there. But I'm a little scared of crossing County A and then crossing 23 with the multiple lanes of traffic, all turning, confusing, coming from different directions. We talked about Amy, is that?
Amber.
Amber. We talked about the Green Lake Conference Center. And the fast bikers will take T because it is so chewed up in there. So as we talked about future things that we would like to do as an organization, we'd like to help the Green Lake Conference Center fill in the potholes and at least make it so that if you're on a skinny tire bike, you're not going to be thrown off the bike there. But that's such a beautiful property. I think you've lived there, we walk the dogs there on a daily basis, and there are just some great riding back in there, but it's pretty chewed up. So.
Is Greenways involved with the trail in Ripon, or is Green Lake County?
The Northwestern Trail?
Yeah.
No, that's Fond du Lac County, and we are not involved with that. They did a beautiful resurfacing job in the early summer, and then we have the heavy rains, and it's washed out in some places.
Well, there's an awful turn there where there's a concrete building or something and a 90-degree turn right across the road and it's just,
Where the foundry is down there?
yeah, kind of down that way. That's quite treacherous. And if
Jerry,
there's
do you
a big
remember,
bike coming down that way, you can't see.
Howard Hanson is on our board, and their Parks and Rec is pretty actively trying to get the trail out to Murray Park and then to the Mascoutin. He was talking about a bridge that they were applying for a grant for, and I thought it was that one, but apparently it was the old railroad trestle out, further out
Well,
of
they put a
town.
new bridge in there just early summer, didn't they?
Yeah, that's beautiful. They got rid of the whole elevation of it and,
But where they took the trestle, the iron metal trestle down, yeah, that's a difficult
That's
spot.
one of the 5 men he was talking about, Howard Hanson, and he's on the city council for Ribbon, and very active in Ribbon sports and anything to do biking. We can talk to him about that. He'll help coordinate it, but that's really out of our hands, but he will jump on that.
Thank you, you're welcome to push the bike around. If it weren't dark, I'm sure Ann would push you on her bicycle.
You don't have a helmet.
If anybody wants to get